Imagine listening to Jesus preach for the very first time. Someone invited you to where he was at. It was at a synagogue or it was at a park, and you're walking in and you're looking around, and everybody's around this rabbi, this teacher. And Jesus begins to preach. And he's talking about some topics that are just controversial. So some topics on forgiveness and anger and lust and where does all of that start? He talks about how to pray. He talks about being generous. If someone tells you to run a mile, you run two. If someone's asking for your shirt, you give them your coat, you give them everything. And imagine listening to that. Now, here's what I know. None of us listening to Jesus preach would be bored. We would be looking around being like, dude, is this guy serious? Is he serious? And here's the other thing I know. We would all be uncomfortable because sooner or later he's going to hit us with something that we're struggling with or something that's going on in our lives. But after Jesus preached, he says something that I want to read to you. It's found in Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. This is at the end of his sermon. He says, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain fell, the rivers rose, the winds blew, and they pounded against the house, yet it did not collapse, because its foundation was on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and doesn't act on them will be a fool, for he built his house on the sand. The rain fell, the rivers rose, the winds blew, and they pounded against the house, and it collapsed with a great crash. Here's what Jesus is not allowing us to do. He's not allowing us to just believe in him. Like, we can't just say, I believe in Jesus, and not ever do anything Jesus has called us to do. We can't just say, I believe in who Jesus is, and he was a great teacher. Like, I believe in him, but never do. Wouldn't it be nice if we just believed, like, I just believe in Jesus and that's great, or I believe I could lose weight, or I believe I could get out of debt, or I believe my marriage could be fixed, or I believe my kids will be better, but never do anything about it. Now, you know that's not true. You can't lose weight if you don't actually, cut the munchies and put the soda away or throw the soda away. Like, if we're serious about change, it's going to require us to eventually do something. And Jesus was pretty much saying the same thing. Listen, if you're going to follow me, if you're going to listen to my preachings, but you never do what I'm asking you to do, then you're a fool because you're building your house on the sand. But anyone who hears my words and actually does them is like a wise man. And you know what a wise person is? A wise person is someone that realizes that all of life is connected, that the decisions I make today are connected to my future, that everything is connected. Is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. In other words, I'm going to start doing these things because I know tough times are coming, because I could trust in who Jesus says he is, because I could believe in who he says he is, and I know that there's a reason why he wants me to do these things. Because he wants me to live a abundant life, a great life, an eternal life, not just in the future, but an eternal life that starts here today, now. So here's the thing. Wouldn't our world look different? Wouldn't our churches look different? Wouldn't it be different if Christians, I'm just talking about Christians, if Christians actually practice what they preached? I mean, our churches would look different, our world would look different, if we actually practiced it. But if we're honest, there's a big disconnect. A lot of us believe that we could be followers of Jesus Christ by just believing, but never doing. And what we see in his sermon there at the end, it's like you have to believe, but you also have to do. That when it comes to topics like forgiveness, you're going to have to take your cues from what Jesus says and not what the world says. That when it comes to topics like marriage, you have to take your cues from what Jesus says and not what the world says. That when it comes to topics of forgiving, or praying for your enemies, you take your cues from Jesus and not from anyone else. But when we do this, here's what I want you to take home. When we do what Jesus calls us to do, when we begin to put things into practice, it begins to build your faith. Your faith gets stronger. Your faith gets bolder. Your faith will be able to withstand the storms of life. Because here's the thing. Here's the common denominator we all have. That sooner or later, we're going to face storms in life. Sooner or later, things are going to come our way that we weren't planning for and are going to hit us hard. And what storms do, they reveal the foundation that we are building on. And either you're building on who Jesus says he is, or you're building on something or someone else. And you have to be honest about what or who you're building on. May we be people that build our lives, build our dreams, build our hopes, build our goals on Jesus and not anyone or anything else. Because anyone or anything else has the ability to break our hearts, has the ability to disappoint us, has the ability to walk away. But Jesus continues to be there day after day, month after month, year after year. He is the constant in all of our lives, and he will be there for you whenever it is that you go through. May we build our lives on him, not just by believing, but by actually doing what he's called us to do. God bless you. Happy Thanksgiving. See you guys next week.